Ronnie Rants alongside Tommy Chrysan, who joins us every Monday and Friday from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge. All right, so a lot to get to today on Sports Shorts. Of course, the LSU coaching search is all everybody wants to talk about. LSU sends Coach O out, a winner in the final game against A&M. They stunned the Aggies. We'll break down that finish and what it means for kind of both of those two teams as LSU now gets to go bowling. Looks like Houston or Tampa. Lincoln Riley headed to Hollywood. Napier headed to Gainesville. LSU to be determined. Tommy Chrysan will tell us his thoughts. Also, he was on the radio last night with Justin Vincent, former LSU Tiger, works for TAF. He had some thoughts on the coaching hire as well. We'll get into that. And a little NFL talk as well, as there was some big games that made big moves over the weekend as far as what the NFL playoffs are going to look like. And, oh, by the way, the New England Patriots, they're for real. I mean, we thought maybe they were just kind of getting by, but now all of a sudden the Patriots look like they are for real. He's Tommy. I'm Ronnie. We're going to be back with more Sports Shorts Daily right after this word from Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. By the way, Santa Super 7 auction starting on Wednesday. All the proceeds benefit the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. That'll kick off at 6 p.m. this coming Wednesday night and run until the 7th, December the 7th at 9 o'clock. So look for that. We'll have it all over social media. We'll tell you more about it. And on Wednesday's show, Santa Super 7 online auction, which benefits and honors the 2022 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame class. Go to lasportshall.com for more info. You can check out Santa Super 7 and the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame 2022 class coming up. TK over at LeBear's on Saturday morning. You and I did not cash a lot of winning tickets. It was a bad weekend for the picks, that's for sure. And one of the picks you and I thought was that A&M and LSU. We both thought A&M would win the game. That did not happen. I'm glad LSU did because I was about to get middled and get screwed. I always like to take bets if I'm betting ever against LSU. If I'm going to lose the bet, I want them to win the game. And it looked like until that last throw with a few seconds left on the clock that I was going to lose the bet and A&M was going to win the game, and nobody was, I was going to get middled there because we both had A&M minus 5.5. But Max Johnson, sometimes a benching can be a good thing, and I think it's clear that Max Johnson benefited from being benched for a game. He's come back with a vengeance since then and has looked like a better quarterback.
He looked great the other night. That touchdown he threw, the long touchdown into the, it would be the southeast corner of the end zone, was an unbelievable throw. And I was sitting in the southeast corner, so that ball was I was right in line with it. And then, of course, the game-winning throw was outstanding. I mean, first off, I love the all-white uniform. I love the helmet, pants, shirt, cleats all being white. I thought it looked sharp. It looked classy. I've always said that. But, man, them kids came to play. I was in the stadium and they did the senior ceremony before, and Coach O came out and said, every family stopped and hugged them and all that stuff. And something we talked about, Dan Bournet did make an announcement after they did all the seniors, said, hey, ladies and gentlemen, how about a great hand for Coach Ed Orgeron, national champion 2019. A lot of people stood, not everybody. A lot of, probably more than half stood, and the ovation was as loud as it could be with, 45 or 50,000 people in the stadium. So they did make that announcement. We wondered if they would do that. But then more importantly, those kids played hard for 4 quarters. A&M, we can get into that another day, but all the posts this weekend about he's done nothing different than Kevin Sumlin did. Basically. So, we just, it was a great way to go out for Coach O, for those seniors, and for the team. And now they're bowl eligible. Only Vanderbilt is not bowl eligible in the SEC. Only Vanderbilt. So Brad Davis will coach the bowl game, and I'm pretty sure they're going to go somewhere. They're not going to decline it, I don't think. And that'd be good for Brad Davis, good for these underclassmen to get some practices. And, of course, the burning question, everybody wants to know when and who will the new coach be, especially Napier landed in Florida, Riley landed in South Carolina. Wow, what a weekend for the coaching carousel. It's definitely full speed ahead.
Chance with some thoughts here. He says 6-6 is a decent finish, but really should have beaten Auburn and Arkansas and could have beaten Alabama. I would say out of that scenario, Chance, that you just posted, the Auburn loss was probably the one that's going to sting the most, and a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda there. Alabama was on the road. Obviously, they're a pretty good team and all that, and things – to say they should have beaten Auburn. That's a game they had in their hand at home, and quite frankly, it was about two plays that really made the difference in that game. They just could not tackle Bo Nix in that one. But yeah, I mean, to go 6-6, Tommy, and be about as bad as they could be. This was the bottom. We thought before the season, and Vegas thought before the season, the line was 8.5 as far as wins go for LSU football on this season. I thought they would be a 9-3 team. I really did. Instead, they're a 6-6 team. Those are the three games that he pointed out that, man, they could have won. UCLA is one that we all thought LSU would win. Turns out UCLA's got a decent team. They obviously had a good year for them. But the Auburn game is definitely when they could have easily gone 7-5. This team probably looked like a 7-5 team. Now, who will be the coach and what will this team look like next year? I think it'll definitely be better than 6-6, just because of the fact that a lot of these young freshmen and Max Johnson and others are getting tons of playing time. That's going to bode well moving forward. I mean, look at Max Johnson's back there slinging it to mostly freshman receivers. So obviously, Jeray Jenkins was not, but this is gonna be good. All right, let's talk about the LSU coaching search, Tommy. The Tigers going into the weekend, it was all Lincoln Riley. Reports were coming out, Lincoln Riley. Even a report came out that a verbal agreement had been made in place between Lincoln Riley and LSU prior to the game. All right. Do you believe that LSU ever offered Lincoln Riley the job?
No, I do not. Scott Woodward had a plan. Long before the quote-unquote separation agreement, he knew he was going to be getting a new coach, okay? And, of course, when that came, then it was 100%. And I think Woodward has had a plan all along. I think he's had a guy for a while now, maybe a couple of weeks or so. But for whatever the reason, which we'll find out later, it couldn't be announced yet. Justin Vincent, who works for Taft, national champion running back at LSU, said on Hold the Rope radio last night that he fully expects an announcement this week, no later than Wednesday. Now, I threw in, they're not going to come out at 1 o'clock and say there's a press conference at 2. They're going to be fair to give media from around the state a chance to come in, especially because it'll be in person now. So, if we don't hear anything today about something tomorrow, then we got to hope we hear something tomorrow about Wednesday. Now, I think that's in the past, that's what they've done. They want the media from New Orleans, Lafayette, Alexandria to have a chance to Shreveport, to have a chance to get in town. So I think he's had a guy. I don't think Riley was offered the job. I really don't. That was a creation of social media. It's, social media can be evil. It can be really good, but it can be evil. So my long answer to your question is I don't think they offered Lincoln Riley.
Well, clearly he made the decision, I think, before the game, right? Because when he stepped to the podium after the game against Oklahoma State, that Oklahoma lost, by the way, and Oklahoma did cover. They were a 4.5-point dog. They lost by 4. When he stepped to the podium, and pretty much immediately he said, I'm not going to be the next coach at LSU. So that tells you that the decision was made at least prior to kickoff.
I heard the question. The guy said, I hate to ask you this. I mean, just ask the question, okay? But I hate to ask you, but it's nonstop that you're going to, and Riley cut him off.
Right.
Because he knew what was coming and said, I'm not going to be the next coach at LSU. Next question. All right. So obviously he didn't do a deal with Southern Cal after the game. That had been in the works because it was 15 hours after he said, I'm not going to be the coach at LSU, that he said that Southern Cal announced that he was the guy. Look, I still think it's Lane Kiffin. I've been saying that for weeks. Also, I'm going to just throw this out there. The Carolina Panthers have an open date this week. There's some talk about Matt Rule. Just throwing that out there.
Well, that would be interesting. That would be in line with the Scott Woodward play, right?
Yeah, and he brings Joe Brady back and boom,
because
Carolina's going nowhere fast.
We'll get to that in a minute. But going back to Riley, whether he was offered, whether they had conversation or whatever, and I got to believe they did have conversation with Lincoln Riley. There was too much smoke around that thing. And we've told you about the relationship with Stephanie Remp to Oklahoma, being that she used to be there. Obviously Lincoln Riley was going to leave Oklahoma. I do think that there was something that went down between him and LSU. Whether he was offered the job and turned it down, or whether within the confines of that communication he realized this isn't the right fit for him, the bottom line is that he made that decision prior to Oklahoma State game that he was not going to be the head coach at LSU. Whether LSU told him or whether it became obvious in the communication, okay? So when the game ended, then it was full bore USC, and I believe, just like you do, Tommy, that the way he was so adamant about I'm not going to be the next coach at LSU tells me he knew, and he already had, he knew that we're going to work out the USC details, okay, later tonight. And that's probably a good fit for him anyway.
Well, I'm not saying LSU didn't talk to him, but if they did, It may have been a month or two ago, or may have been 3 months ago. It may have been a week ago. I don't know. I'm sure somehow word got to him to see if he had any level of interest. And maybe he said, yeah, I don't know. But, I don't think he was offered. I think if Lincoln Riley was offered the job, he'd have took it. Now, there's a lot of stuff out there saying he's scared to compete in the SEC. Well, I don't believe he's scared. That's a stupid comment. However, he does have a better chance of getting to the playoff at Southern Cal than he does at LSU or at Oklahoma, who's about to join the SEC. Again, 13 of the 14 teams in the SEC are bowl eligible. We knew Vanderbilt wasn't going to be in August. We knew that. So Southern Cal, I don't know how many in the Pac-12 are going to a bowl game, but that's like men versus boys as far as top to bottom in the conference. So the same thing with Mel Tucker's got a better chance to get to the playoff at Michigan State than he would at LSU. Look, these agents play this game. These agents, Jimmy Sexton and the others, they're very good at what they do. They're very good at making money for their clients, which is what they're supposed to do. And when they do that, it helps coaches all over the country. And even at the group of 5 schools, them coaches end up getting more money because the bar keeps going up, 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 up. So, it's part of the coaching carousel. It's part of the game. I said this on Hold the Rope Radio last night. I trust Scott Woodward. His track record at Washington, Texas A&M, and the brief track record at LSU with Jay Johnson and Kim Mulkey. You got to believe he's going to put somebody out there that it's not going to please everybody. I get that, and he gets that. But he's going to put somebody in that position that he thinks can win a championship for LSU. He said that the night of the separation agreement, the search for the next championship football coach. I cut them words up, and I'm using them specifically, begins immediately. And whether it's tomorrow or Wednesday or it's next week, I think most people are going to be very pleased.
All right, so Chance with some thoughts, and this is interesting. Everyone puts Woodward on a pedestal. Jimbo and Buzz over there at A&M underperformed. Johnson and Mulkey are a wait and see, and Chris Peterson did good but short-lived. Hope he has the right pick. There's something to be said to that, right? Like, we are giving Scott Woodward a lot of credit, and maybe some of these coaches worked out and maybe some of them didn't. I will say this, Chance, on the Jimbo Fisher hire, okay? Clearly, if you're Texas A&M, you're not thrilled with – you're not getting your $10 million, $100 million a year contract worth of money out of Jimbo Fisher. But there's a big but. Under Jimbo Fisher, you've been more consistent than he was under Sumlin. You've beaten Alabama. You've beaten LSU, which you never did under Sumlin. But at the same time, Jimbo Fisher, regardless of how it's worked out, was the guy everybody wanted at the time that A&M got him. Okay, I mean, sometimes looking down the road, things don't work out. But Jimbo Fisher was the pick for anybody in the country. If Jimbo Fisher would have said, "I want to coach there," he could have gone anywhere not named Alabama or Clemson. And so, regardless of what you think now of that hire, it was the right pick at the time, and would have been for LSU when they thought they had him once or twice. Now, that said, that's all you can do is hire the best coach available at the time, and that's what Scott Woodward is trying to do right now. Now, interesting take, Tommy, by you, and that is there's a couple of names being thrown around. One, first off, is Stoops at Kentucky. Okay. We brought him up on this show a while back. And because I'm a big fan of his and what the job he's done at Kentucky, I thought he would have been a perfect fit for Florida, being already over in the East, familiar with the East, beaten Florida, a couple of times. I thought he would have been the guy they went to try to get. They did not. They went and got Billy Napier. Congratulations for him. He'll be playing this weekend in a championship in Lafayette against Appalachian State in the Sun Belt Conference game, which they are a 2.5-point favorite. Actually 2.5 point underdog, Tommy, actually, in that game. But Stoops now all of a sudden, with the job he's done at Kentucky, starting to be a name that we're hearing. And then you brought up a unique scenario with Carolina out of the NFL, with Rule, who did a great job at Baylor, who may be pulling a Nick Saban, go to the NFL for a couple of years, realize it's not all that you thought it was cracked up to be. I'm much better college coach. I can control more in college. Let me go back to college. I can still make gazillions of dollars just like in the NFL. And, oh, by the way, I can bring this guy back to Baton Rouge who knows what he's doing. Although we've heard that Brady doesn't like recruiting, so we'll get to that in a minute. But if you're to hang your hat on someone, Tommy, whether it be Aranda, who is about to come up, whether it be Stoops, Aranda hasn't signed as of right now that we know of his new deal offered to him, whether it be Stoops, whether it be Rule, whether it be somebody else like O'Brien maybe or something, who do you think it will be?
I think it's going to be Lane Kiffin. I've said that all along. And, I said last Friday morning on when we did Sports Shorts Daily, Ole Miss played Thursday night. I said, if Ole Miss truly wants him, you're going to see some kind of extension this week, just like Franklin got and Tucker got and Hugh Freeze got, all this stuff. None of that happened. So, unless Lane has went to Ole Miss and said, I'm not going anywhere. And he's playing all over social media last night and this morning. This morning, he's throwing stuff out there. It could be a smoke screen, but I would go with him. Matt Rule makes a little bit of sense to me for all the things you just said, because the Carolina Panthers are going nowhere fast. And, like you said, Saban got a taste of that NFL. It didn't work. That might be Matt Rule who has success. The fact that Dave Aranda has not signed his contract extension yet, that's supposedly out there, but he's got a coach Saturday. They're in the Big 12 championship game. Matt Rule's got an open date for the Panthers, and Lane Kiffin doesn't coach this week. Now, maybe he pulls somebody else out of the hat. Rachel made that comment a minute ago. Maybe there's some name that none of us are saying. I don't know how Sean knows that, but me and Sean talked about that the other night. But he likes a guy who can win a championship. Ryan, I want to add something to what you said. When Scott Woodward made them hires, they were great hires. But great hires don't always turn into great coaches. Steve Sarkisian, they thought that was a great hire. Texas is not even bowl eligible. So there's layers involved here. Like right now, I think Jay Johnson is a great hire for LSU baseball. If they go 8-22 in the SEC next year, then he's not a great hire. So it's easy to comment after the fact that, Jimbo and Sumlin through 48 games. Listen to this, Ronnie. Both 34-14, they both beat Bama once. So they're getting the same thing they had, basically, okay? So
other than LSU, too.
Yeah, all right. So, okay.
Jimbo beat LSU.
You got to be able to recruit, okay? And I don't know if the early signing period is that big a deal, because here's why, Ronnie. You ready for the TKism on this?
All right.
I thought of this while driving to Tremont this morning. All right, you ready? If I'm going to buy a Chevrolet car, it's because of Chevrolet, not because of Larry, the sales guy. So kids are going to pick LSU because they want to go to LSU, not because of the sales guy. That's an analogy, and some may think it's off, but I think it's right. I mean, LSU has a lot to offer. Look at the list of guys making millions on top of millions in the NFL. It's a ticket to the NFL if you're good enough. It's a pipeline, and they get a coach in here. Bill O'Brien's name has kind of went away. Of course, he has to coach Saturday, but we've seen other coaches at Bama not coach playoff games and bowl games. So it's wide open. I'm going to go back to the Rants 13. Let it play out. We're going to find out as soon as we can.
Some different thoughts online. This is one that pretty much got put to bed a couple of weeks ago, right? I could see Brian Kelly. I think his
that would really turn me off.
But well, I know you hate Notre Dame, but hey, if you're Brian Kelly, why would you ever want to leave Notre Dame? They're on the verge. They're going to be in the playoffs most likely, Tommy, with a loss to Cincinnati on their schedule. And I'm telling you right now, I think that's what's going to happen. And if I think it's going to end up being Georgia. It's going to end up. I think Georgia's going to beat Alabama. Alabama's not played well. They're going to be out. And then you're going to have, if Michigan wins this weekend, Michigan's in. Cincinnati's going to be in undefeated if they stay undefeated. And then you got Notre Dame's going to slot in there because they're going to have the worst loss of any one-win team. And right or wrong, that's going to happen. And as long as you've got Notre Dame as your brand and you play that national schedule on national TV every week, you get the benefit of the doubt. And so if I'm Kelly, all you got to do is just go. We'll lose one game, and you're going to be in the playoffs most likely.
Well, we'll see. I would not be a fan of that, but and I don't. You're right. I've been doing this a long time. I don't see Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame for LSU. I really don't. Now I might be proven dead wrong in a couple of days. I don't know.
All right, so we got a bunch of little names being thrown. Chance Babin's been the biggest Billy Napier fan on our show. Florida made a great hire. I can't disagree with you. I think he lacks the sizzle, but I mean the guy is tried and true on and off the field, no doubt about it. Let's see. This one would not have anyone really excited. Jason Garrett. He just got fired.
That's not going to happen.
Just got fired by the Giants. Mario Cristobal, that name hasn't really come up much. He's done a fantastic job at Oregon. 25-1, I think, at home in his career over there. That name doesn't seem to resonate. Has a big buyout.
Now he was on the staff at Alabama, so he's got a little SEC flavor.
Yeah. All right. So you threw out the Lane Kiffin thing, and it seems as if, and this is from people that are, with TAF and close to Woodward, it does seem as if Scott Woodward would not want to go down the Lane Kiffin route because on the surface, it seems it's just like Coach O, right? You're dealing with a coach that divorced a few years ago who's, it's too risky. It's too risky Lane Kiffin is a little bit of a loose cannon, especially on social media. He's going to do and say whatever he wants. It's too much of a wild card and a loose cannon for a program that's a little bit shell-shocked with some things that have happened off the field over the last few years. They're in the middle of a Title IX lawsuit. I think a giant Title IX lawsuit. I think you're in a situation where, I don't know if I want to go down that road. And I feel like they want the perfect picture of the family and the husband, wife, and a couple of kids and the Christmas card. They don't want to take a chance on somebody that they may not be able to control.
Well, and I can see that, okay? And that would lead you to a Randall or Matt Rule. They want the guy that puts the blinker on every time he turns. They want the guy that when the light turns yellow, he doesn't gun it and go through the intersection. He stops, They want that perfect image or portrayal to be out there. So, I don't know. It's just I'm going to trust Scott Woodward. I like his track record. I know the comment a little bit earlier, but still, when you hire somebody, there's more layers that follow after it. But when you make the hire, when Ed Orgeron brought Bo Pelini back, they said, well, he coached the national championship team here. He knows what he's doing. It might have been a good hire. It wasn't a great hire. It turned out to be an awful hire. So, it's what makes Sports Shorts Daily and Sports Shorts Radio and Talking Sports with TK. What makes it all go round and round because everybody's chiming in. We certainly appreciate all the comments this morning.
Yeah, please like
y'all got to like and share this video. Yeah, like and share.
All right, so you've got a situation where Campbell at Iowa State, by the way, is a name has come up the entire time. What's interesting to me is Florida, who fired their coach a week and change ago, is already, it's already out there, and they're announcing that that they're hiring Napier, even though Napier's got a championship game to be played this Saturday.
And he will coach that. He will coach that game.
He'll coach it. He already put out a release thanking UL and everything for everything they've done. UL's obviously okay with it, or I guess it doesn't really matter whether they're okay with it or not. They're okay. USC, it's already out there. Lincoln Riley, day after he plays Bedlam, bam. So what do you think the reason is for this LSU delay? Didn't happen yesterday, hasn't happened so far today. What's the reason for the LSU delay, Tommy? Because if it's an NFL coach, you throw out the name Rule, they're in an off week this week. Well, I mean, if he hires an NFL coach, then you're basically saying that NFL coach is going to probably be going now. Or you'd have to wait to January. That's not going to happen. If it's anyone else, if it's Aranda, he's got a championship game on Saturday. Are they waiting for him to? I don't know. I don't understand the wait if they already have a guy in place, like Justin Vincent said on ESPN Radio last night. And you're intimating is that Scott Woodward's already got a guy in place. Then what are you waiting for?
Well, if it's Luke Fickell, you're waiting. You know, Luke Fickell's name was flying around, and it's kind of like that plane landed a few weeks ago. But he's, we got to let it play out, Roddy. I don't mean to be repetitive there, but now back to your Mark Stoops comment. You saw Bob Stoops is going to coach Oklahoma in the bowl game, and he coached for a week at practice earlier this year when a couple of assistants had COVID. So and I wouldn't rule out that they rehire him like Kansas State rehired Bill Schneider, or they hire Mark Stoops to go to Oklahoma, or whatever. So I don't know, man. It's going to be a fun week. And look, I'll be honest with you. I sent a text message 5 minutes before we went on the air to someone, any word on a press conference yet, to someone who would know. I'm not going to say that person's name right now. And the answer was no, meaning there's no word as of 30 minutes ago.
To me, it seems as if, and I'm going to give Scott Woodward the benefit of the doubt because this feels a lot like what happened with LSU. This is starting to feel a little bit more like what happened to LSU back when they hired Orgeron. They had made the hire. They fired Les Miles 4 games after that year. We all thought that, they were taking the time to make the right coaching hire. They were going to have all these options. LSU's going to be first to the party. And then when they didn't get Herman and he went to Texas, which, by the way, isn't that crazy? Tom Herman was the #1 guy in the country. Everybody would have taken Tom Herman, not named Alabama or Ohio State at the time or Clemson. He ends up going to Texas and becoming the ultimate bust. I don't know. Where's Tom Herman right now? LSU settles on Coach O. And you know what? It didn't work out for 10 years, but it worked out for 5. They won a national championship. Job well done.
Well, let me ask you this. I got a question for you.
Scott Woodward made the change weeks ago. You'd have thought LSU would have been first to the party, and here they are not. They are losing, as one of our viewers said, they are losing the public perception game. But I do think if you get it right, if you hire the right guy or a big name at some point here, whether it's this week, next Monday, then all will be forgiven the minute you announce who it is. But between now and then, there's going to be rumblings and people upset about it.
I have a question for you. It was posed to me several times this weekend. Do you think that maybe the reason for the delay is that LSU fired Ed Orgeron 17 games after he won a national championship? Coaches saying, I don't want to go there, but I don't think it's an effect because when Auburn fired Chiswick, they ended up doing all right going forward. I don't think that's an effect because I think the LSU job is one of the top 5 jobs in the country. But I wanted to hear what you say about that.
No, there's something to be said to that. But here's the thing, Tommy. I do believe this, and unfortunately, it's like Les Miles and it's like Orgeron. I think nationally, the perception is that LSU can do better as a head coach. And so I think a lot of coaches look at the LSU job and go, it's a dream job. And they look at Les Miles and Ed Orgeron and go, Les Miles, the games passed him by, or he wasn't a great head coach. Ed Orgeron, good recruiter, good position coach, not the best head coach option. And so I think LSU gets a pass because I think the insider coaches know Orgeron wasn't the greatest head coach in the world. Come on. He won a national championship with this, that, and the other, great players and a good assistant coaches. And, and so but if it was a coach that other coaches respected, let's say it was a coach that everybody thought the world of, let's say it was an Urban Meyer or something came to LSU. I think coaches around the country would probably say, wait a minute, they had a fantastic coach, a Hall of Fame coach, and they blew him out 2 years after he won a national championship. Come on, he had this, that, and the other extenuating circumstances. I think the coaches around the country get it that Ogeron underperformed and drastically because they know the kind of talent that's on LSU's roster. They recruiting the same guys that LSU's getting yeses to, and they're getting no's to. So from that perspective, I don't think they're holding it against them.
Well, and look, I think if anybody, I don't think they've been turned down by anybody, which tells me Woodward's had a guy in place, and in time we'll find out why the delay for the, I'm just saying, if it's Matt Rule, okay, you can say, well, hey, we had to wait till he had the open date so he could let the ownership of the Panthers know, that he was going to be leaving, and they had a little time to clean up the mess, okay, or Luke Fickell.
If it's Cincinnati or if it's Baylor, you're telling me you wait till after the championship game.
Yeah, so then we don't hear anything this week, okay? But, Justin Vince is a lot closer to the situation than I am. And we know his office got cleared out Saturday during the day.
You're talking about Coach O's office.
Yeah, the corner office there with the little balcony with the picnic table, chairs or whatever. That second floor. Yeah, so we know that was cleared out because, quote, unquote, O was told we got to get ready for the next guy, and then that's when they said he wasn't going to coach the bowl game, and then Brad Davis would do it if they won the game that night, which would be good for Brad's resume, obviously. But hey, I'll be looking at my phone every 5-10 minutes today to see if I get that email, that says press conference 2:00 or 4:00 or whatever, and if it does, of course, it'll be all on social media probably before I see it, but I'll also be monitoring that, but let it play out. Trust Scott Woodward, and we'll go from there.
Tommy says he thinks it's going to be Lane Kiffin. If it ends up being the Lane Kiffin, there'll be a lot of people that are going to like that pick and be happy. I think personally, I'm hoping it's Dave Aranda. Okay. But there's a part of me that thinks it's going to be Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell was the hot guy all offseason. He's thought of highly at the NFL level, at the college level, the Iowa State head coach. That one would make a lot of sense. The only thing about Matt Campbell is you could have announced that yesterday. You could have announced that this morning. You haven't announced it yet. Why the wait if it is Matt Campbell?
I think the whole timing of this thing is clearly connected to whoever it is, like Matt Rule. They wouldn't have announced that, yesterday when he had a game to play. But, now that he's got an open date, it fits. Lane Kiffin, they don't have a game at Ole Miss till January 1. We'll see. Keep in mind, too, now for you in Louisiana, ULL needs a coach. Louisiana Tech needs a coach, and Southeastern won in the playoff game the other night against Florida A&M. So
did they cover? What was the score? How many did they win by?
They won. They were favored by 13. They were up 38-0, won 38-14. So, yes, they covered. They'll travel to Virginia to play James Madison this week, and I don't think they'll be favored in that one.
No, James Madison's pretty good. All right, he's Tommy. I'm Ronnie. Please like and share this video and this post. Tell us about Tremonti's Meat and Seafood before we get out of here.
Well, they got a special deal right now. Heaven's Door Whiskey, which is Bob Dylan brand whiskey. They've got barrel pick. The pick of the litter on sale right now. I'm going to post some pictures on Instagram and Facebook of it later. Don't forget gift cards. Tremonti's has gift cards if you want something for the office employees or the neighbor down the street. They got gift cards available. Back to doing the daily lunch specials now that they're behind Thanksgiving. And as soon as we get a little closer to Christmas, they got prime rib specials and turkeys and hams and all that. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Connect on Facebook and Instagram or stop by. 12451 Jefferson Highway, right down the street from Parkview Baptist Church and School. They're full speed open again after the Thanksgiving break, so stop in and see Mike and the staff, and they all do a great job here, as we know. Tremendous wine and liquor selection. Get you stocked up for the holidays, and get that gift card from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood.
By the way, I know LSU fans were hoping Lincoln Riley would be the next coach at LSU, and that was the guy that I wanted. And when we did our poll on Sports Church Radio, every Saturday morning from 10 to noon on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, that was my guy that was at the top of my list. Obviously, USC is going to get him. I think it's a great hire for USC. It's a great fit for him. He fits the mold and the model of what they're looking for and all that sort of thing. So I think no doubt about it, Lincoln Riley, they hit a home run right there, and that's a great fit for him with his offense and his style and his youth and his look and everything in the Pac-12. for LSU, it doesn't matter so much. I've said this when it came to LSU baseball, and I'm saying it about LSU football. It's not about the sizzle. It's about get me a guy who can recruit and a guy who can coach. I don't care if they can kiss babies and shake hands and do commercials and be beloved down the bayou or in the North Louisiana, wherever. Just you've got the facilities, you've got the talent. You just need to have good coaches that can do their job, and you're going to win at LSU. I mean, it goes without saying. We've said it over and over again. You won a national championship with Les Miles and Ed Ogeron as the head coach. Those guys don't win national championships any other school wherever they're at, other than at LSU. And so just do your job, get a good solid hire, and the rest will take care of itself. You've got some stud players coming back that went through the fire this year, no question about it. All right, Tommy, we'll be back on Sports Shorts Daily Wednesday morning right here. We'll have an update for you. If anything breaks between now and then, we'll have a special Sports Shorts Daily.
Yeah, let's do a special edition if there's if there's a reason to do one. And so people, you really need to like and share, follow Sports Shorts on Facebook, YouTube, follow the channel, connect with Ronnie, connect with me, because if we're going to do a special edition, we're going to give, it won't be a lot of notice. It might be an hour, it might be 2 hours, but as soon as Ronnie and I can match up the schedules and fire up the program.
All right, we'll see you on Wednesday, everybody. Until then, have a good one. And Tommy's telling you Lane Kiffin is his pick. I think it's going to be Matt Campbell with I'd love for it to be Dave Aranda, but he's holding that big off.